So now that we really kind of went in depth and looked at such a huge array of different optics, it might be hard for you guys to kind of sort through this and really feel confident in a purchasing decision. So I'm going to try to help you out here. We're going to break this up into different price ranges. Okay, so if you're looking for an optic for the long-range shooting purposes like we're talking about, and you want a budget scope, you want to spend no more than $300, I would only have one strong recommendation and one possible. And let's circle the ones that we talked about that are under $300, just so we can see what we're looking at. And here we have the Barska, the BSA, the Bushnell Tactical Elite, the NC Star, the SWFA Super Sniper, and the Tasco Targets Varmint Scope. And the only one out of these that I could actually solidly recommend, that I would say would work just fine, even for hardcore purposes, would be the SWFA Super Sniper in that price range. So under $300, it's right at $299, so it's under our $300 mark. Now, if you're really, really strapped for cash, you know, the Bushnells used to be cheaper than this. They used to be like $199, $189. Now they're up to $249. So really, you know, although the Bushnell would probably work too, the Elite Tactical in the straight 10 like we talked about earlier, I would spend another $50 and actually get the SWFA. That's been military approved. That's went through all the mil-spec testing. And I've actually done extensive testing on that to verify. And that's not a bad deal at all. So under $300, definitely the SWFA. If you had to pick a model and a magnification, I would recommend the straight 10 power. That's going to get you out to 1,400 meters without a problem. And I would recommend the standard mil-dot reticle and mil-radian turrets. And they do offer them now. They used to, the ones I've tested were actually minutes of angle. So that was kind of a goofy deal. Although, you know, guys, that's kind of what I got trained on anyway. So as I'm used to the minutes of angle. So it's not really as much of a handicap for me as it might be for some other people who are just getting started. But the MRADs is a lot better design. So it's straight 10 in there. If you're talking about more of a close range rifle, like if you're only going to go out to 800 meters and you got this strapped on a semi-automatic sniper system, like an AR-10 or something like that, and you might use it for more of a variety of ranges, then a 6 power would actually be a good choice. And that a 6 power will get you out to 800 meters, no problem, even 1,000. If you're shooting really primarily at extreme range, they do make a 12 power, a straight 12, which should still be okay, but I would not go for the 16. The optical clarity, at 16 power, you really need to have apochromatically corrected lenses. So if you do that, you might want to get the HD, something with HD lenses. But then you're going to be spending a lot more money, and you kind of lose the luster of the inexpensive appeal to this Super Sniper setup. So that's a great choice. I would not be sad at all if I had to strap one of those even on a $3,000 rifle. I mean, it would work just fine even on something like that. And even though a lot of guys, like we talked about before, kind of sneer at these because they're kind of assembled in the same place Tasco is assembled, we talked about the reality of where the origins of the lenses are and how that works. So, I mean, the glass and the SWFA scope is going to be from the exact same factory as all these other scopes, even your favorite Leopold or maybe a Burris. They're all coming from the same area, and they all contract out to the highest bidder. So that worry kind of dissolves when you set it before reality. So that's my recommendations for that price range. Let's erase that here, and let's look at the next price range. Let's say you got $500. Okay, so let's look at everything for $300 to $500. We got the Falcon Menace. We have, what else do we have for $300 to $500? We have the we have the Nico Sterling Target Master, and we have we'll throw the Super Sniper in there because it's right on the border, And if you find something, again, for the $300 to $500 range, and there's a lot of other scopes out there you could probably look at models, I would still recommend the SWFA, because the quality on that thing is actually going to be a lot better than most of your $500 scopes. If you absolutely must have a budget variable power, the Falcon Menace would work for you, but I would still recommend the straight 10 power optic over the variable any day when we're talking about in terms of ruggedness and value. You're going to get a lot higher. You're going to get a lot more scope quality for your money in the straight 10 power SWFA in that price range. Let's say you got up to $1,000. Okay, let's say you got a $1,000 you can spend. Now you can get into some pretty good quality optics. And my recommendation, if you got $1,000 to spend, would be the IOR Valdata 10x42 Tactical that we talked about. This gives you the 30mm tube, straight 10 power MP8 reticle, and the mil radian adjustments, and the huge quality that we talked about before. Very, very rugged optic. This is going to be heavy duty. This is going to be able to put up with pretty much anything you're going to throw at it. Maybe if you're lucky, if you're really lucky and you shop around, you might be able to find a US Optics ST10 in that price range. Usually they go for $1,500 to $1,600, but I've actually seen them on Midway USA for around $1,000, $950 or something like that at times, and that would have been a steal of a deal. That is a tier 1 scope for only $1,000. So if you could find a US Optics ST10 for around $1,000, man, I would jump on that. I'd even recommend jumping on it for $1,500 or even $1,700. It's just such a good value. But if you got $1,000, the IOR Valdata for $700 some, that's a really good setup, and that's going to blow away any of your Nikons or Leopolds or Millets. Now, if you're spending $1,000 too, one of the options a lot of guys would point out would be your Mark IV Leopolds, but actually this IOR is going to be a better value for that price range by quite a bit, and it's going to give you a lot more ruggedness. The Mark IV Leopolds are a nice optic. I would not be sad again if I had to get one of those, but again, value-wise, there's better values. There's nothing wrong with the Leopold Mark IVs, but if you want to spend your money the most wisely and get the most for your buck, the IOR is actually a better scope, and it is cheaper. So that would have to be my recommendation for under $1,000. Now let's say you got like up to $1,500. What would you choose? If you really want to spend all of that $1,500, I would get the ST10. It's hands down for sure. That would be my recommendation. If you're starting to feel tempted to get a variable power scope because you have $1,500, no, I would recommend the ST10 very strongly. That's a tier 1 scope. There's nothing really better than that. If you feel compelled because you have $1,500 to get a high magnification variable power, I would try to uncompel you if it was possible, because this ST10 is just really, really, really solid quality, and quality is going to trump magnification any day of the week. So that would be my primary recommendation. If you're looking at one of the Leopold M3As or the Mark IV M1s, that's a great scope as well, but that ST10 is going to eat that thing for lunch. So that's my recommendation, okay? If you got $2,000, let's say you got $2,000 to spend, a lot of guys are going to run straight for the gun store and try to get some of these real popular brands. But again, I would try to give you a little bit of pause, and I'd say that ST10 is a really good deal even for $2,000. Even if the ST10 was $2,300 or $2,500, it would still be well worth that amount of money. That's how good of a value it really is. But now that you have those $2,000, if you do feel compelled to get a variable power scope, now you finally have enough money to where you can afford to have higher magnification variable power, because you'll be able to get into your Night Force scopes. And that's the first range of optics as we're climbing up the ladder here that's going to be suitable for high magnification values. And we're talking, I would definitely strongly say, like we said before, to get the F1 Night Force. That's going to only give you a 15 power magnification, but that's still real high power. That's going to get you out to a mile. It's not going to be a problem. A lot of guys want the real high magnification, but I would not sacrifice the first focal plane reticle for magnification that is going to be basically unused. And once we start doing our long-range firing solutions, you'll see what I'm talking about. But you're not going to ever use a lot more than 15 power in the field for any, maybe for spotting or for calculating wind. That's where the high magnification, like maybe a 5 to 25 or even a 30 power, 40 power scopes, that's what they might be handy for, is for spotting other people's rounds, and for also trying to judge wind by focusing in on the mirage, and that does require some higher magnification sometimes. But for actually shooting the thing, you're never going to crank it over 15. Now, there's one more optic I want to point you to in the $2,000 price range, and that is the Schmidt & Bender PM2. And that's the price on these right now is $1948, so they're right under $2,000. And this PM2 straight power police marksman is gonna blow away your Night Force. It's pretty much the peak of the pinnacle. Those are about $2,000, and a little more than the ST10. You're gonna have a little more optical clarity in the Schmidt & Bender than you would in the ST10 or the Night Force. So if you want really clear lenses, that's kind of the way to go there. And this is still going to be extremely rugged optic, the PM2 Schmidt & Bender. So if you do want something a little more refined than the ST10, then the Schmidt & Bender would be your choice. If you got 2,000 and you want just like the best glass in the world, that's what I would point you to, the Schmidt & Bender PM2. It's going to be better glass than the USO, like I said, and the Night Force. And the ruggedness will be better than the Night Force, but not quite as good as the ST10. Might be a little more rugged than the PM2 and the straight power, just because of the way it's constructed. But they're both, I mean, way heavy-duty scopes. So when we're talking $2,000, you can start to get into some really high-quality stuff. If you got $2,500, there's no reason to spend it unless you really want to have high magnification. And I'm talking like 25 power magnification for spotting purposes, for spotting the trace on the bullets, or for doing the windage, things like that. If you really want that high magnification capability, okay, now that $2,500 can be spent on something that'll actually give you your money's worth. And I would recommend primarily, probably, you can get your Night Force F1 again. That's somewhere in the $2,000 ballpark. Or you can get a US Optic SN3. That'll give you a little more clarity and quite a bit more ruggedness. And if you really want really world-class glass, you can get one of the high magnification PM2s, like the 5 to 25. Or if you really got a thing for Zeiss, we talked about their optic, but you're really going to spend a lot of coin, over $2,500. So that's where it just starts to kind of go up into infinity after the $2,500 mark. You can spend, a lot of cash and hardly get any noticeable increase in quality, because when you kind of plateau after $2,500. So that's my rundown on the optics hierarchy and the different price ranges. So hopefully that's helpful to you. And like I said before, it was not my objective to make anyone feel bad if they already have purchased one of these optics. I know, guys, it's funny how sensitive grown men can be when it comes to their equipment on things like this. So I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad or hurt their little feelers or anything, but I am just being dead honest and telling you straight up what some of my experiences here of some of these different optics. And I've done a lot of research on this, and I've applied a lot of this stuff to actually shooting with these things. So hopefully that kind of points you in the right direction. All right, our next video series, we're finally done with our optics selection. Hopefully that puts that question to rest, what kind of scope to have. Very important, but hopefully now you're pretty well equipped to make a really good decision there. Our next video series is it's our last one on equipment selection, and this is peripheral equipment. And this should be a lot easier to fly through because it's far less hinging on this stuff than there is with our optics selection. That was kind of a key piece of equipment. But peripheral equipment, we're talking about like bipods, range finders, infrared thermometers, analog calculators, binoculars, spotting scopes, sandbags, drag bags, all the tackle that you're going to need in your rifle system in order to really be effective with it out in the field. So what you're going to find that when we do this extreme range shooting, you're going to need some more instrumentation to really make all your meteorological adjustments and things like that. And I'm going to go through real briefly and just kind of show you what I got in my drag bag, I guess, what's in my rifle kit. And it's not real super important brand names. I don't need to go into a lot of detail, but I'm just going to go through peripheral equipment selection and show you some stuff that you might want to have in your bag.